Welcome back, everybody. Since the set 12 has brought us one upgrade to the Youth Quake decks, we've got another upgrade to the Youth Quake decks, but this time it's not a new card. It's a card that we've waited for like 2 years to get, which I've been patiently waiting for, Blazing Warcry. So we got Kothiblaze. This is a really cool deck. I've been testing this since it got revealed in Japan, because everyone was like, I feel like this deck is kind of like awful or whatever, and I was like, I'll give it a shot. And this is genuinely not including Overlord, because Overlord's obviously my favorite. This is like genuinely like my second favorite like Dragon Empire deck ever. Like it's got a lot of cool interactions. It doesn't play like every other Dragon Empire deck. Obviously, it can restand itself and it can restand rear guards, but it's got a lot of really cool interactions between the deck. And also, if you're into it, it's really good at deck thinning. So we're gonna go right on into this. Cannot tell you how long I've been waiting to do this. So first is the starter. The starter's adorable. We love the starter. The grade one, however, has a really cool ability, not tied to the starter, which is when the grade two rides on top of it, you Soul Blast one, look at top seven, and you choose two cards with different grades. Uh, if you reveal the grade three, that card goes to your hand. Otherwise, the two cards with different grades go to Soul, right? So you're getting one card to Soul, and you're getting one card to hand if you're lucky, which we only have three targets in deck, so it's not often that you're getting the extra card in hand, but that's fine. And then we have Baldros, which he does have a rearguard effect, but we don't play any extra copies, so you don't have to worry about that. But when he's rode upon by the great Kothiblaze, you're going to draw a card and then call a card from your hand. And if you didn't call a card, you have to discard a card, which you're going to do a normal call during main phase anyway, so like there's never a point where you're really having to discard a card. And lastly, Kothiblaze himself. I'm so glad I was able to pick up one of the manga rares forever ago because I really do enjoy this deck. So he's got two abilities. Once is a once per turn. To counterblast, you're going to look at top five, uh, and one of the cards is going to go to your field, and one of the cards is going to go to your soul. So you're constantly, for a counterblast one, for the couple turns you do it, you're trying to deck thin two cards every turn. And you'll see by the rest of the cards that we're playing, we have a lot of ways to thin out the deck a little more. But the other thing is, at the end of a battle he attacks, he has two different abilities. So you can Soul Blast two cards, and then restand cards on your field equal to or with the same names as the cards you soul blasted out. So if I have these two on my board and I soul blast two of these out, I can restand these and then they're going to get +5, which is really cool. But the other one is if you soul blast two Kothblazes, he restands, uh, loses a drive check and gets +5. So the really cool thing about this is it's not restricted to once per turn for that second effect. So if you flip drag Veda, obviously you won't be able to do the Kothiblaze thing twice in one turn, restanding him again. But you will be able to uh, have your Vanguards attack, or sorry, have your rear guards attack again. So it'd be, was that like a 7 attack turn, 6 attack turn, something like that, or 8 attack turn if you hit drag Veda. It's really cool. But otherwise it has very standard or like very decent like power to push your opponent. Uh, but unfortunately, this deck doesn't really have a good way to, I said you can soul blast like two copies of this. We don't really have a good way to keep getting them back in soul. So this deck's it's kind of like Blankdemeyer in the form of you can do that once a game and that's it. That's like your divine skill. Um, Moving on to the grade threes and the Regalis piece. It's a really simple three copies of Persona Ride. You have to max out on it for this deck, and our Regalis piece is Twin Cast. Fire Regalis goes really good in this deck too, but there's like been a couple games where I've been desperate for like that extra like shield value. So this card has come in handy. But Fire Regalis, if you prefer that, is also a really good choice. I'd like to talk about the next card for a quick little bit, a card we never got. Four copies of Blazing Warcry. I don't know why this took 2 years. That was ridiculous. But this is your normal order of the turn. I know a lot of people have moved on from this order, and like I get it, but like this card's so good for what the deck wants to do, I just can't move on from it. So it's you look at top seven, and then you get to perform any of the following, which is you either put the revealed card to soul and shuffle your deck. So obviously, you can find an extra copy of this, put it to soul, and then when you persona ride, you have the you have the set requirement for soul for whenever you want to use his Vanguard restand. Second one is you can just add a copy of your Vanguard to hand, which if you have a Kothiblaze in Soul or you're struggling to find Persona rides, you can add a Kothiblaze to hand. It's kind of nice. And the last one is if you have a rearguard or a card in Soul with the same name as the revealed card, you get to call it to rearguard instead. That doesn't come up as often as I would think, but there is some very niche scenarios where you can definitely like if you have like two copies of a card in Soul and you have one on board, you can just call it out, you know. Or if you have one copy in Soul but you're missing the other half, you can call it out to the field. Very nice. But onto the actual meat and potatoes, which is the rest of the grade twos. We've got four copies of Tarion. If I can get him down there. There we go. So Tarion has a really cool ability. Every time he attacks, if your Vanguard's Kothiblaze, he's getting +5. And then at the end of and that's for turn. So when he first swings, he'll swing for 15. Kothiblaze will restand him for 20, and then he'll swing for 25, which is really cool. And his other ability is if you have a Kothiblaze Vanguard, or you reveal one from your ride deck, end of battle, he goes to soul and draws you a card, which is really nice. Helps you keep cards to hand. If you guys watch the Zedlands profile, you might recognize this guy because this was a card that was meant to go with Zedlands and Kothiblaze, but we have a lot less of the effects that we can do, like the other one can do. So for this deck, we are using when it's placed to look at top five to put a card from uh, the top five to soul, which is all right. It also has the boost if you're on Kothiblaze, and when at the end of the battle your Vanguard attacks. For this deck, we lose one drive check, and this thing sets it to one drive, so we can't use that. So if we want to use this effect, it would be the discard a card to give our front row +5, which is never bad. It's come up where I've had multiple of these on board for like the kill turn, and I'll just discard two and be like, okay, +10 to the front row. Like we gotta, get it going. We have is it Lizard Soldier? It is Lizard Soldier. Yojin, four copies of this. So this card is really interesting because it really does helps the deck kind of loop its grade 2 or less is into the soul. So when it attacks, if you're Kothiblaze or you have a clan icon or whatever they want to call it, right? If you have a clan, he gets +5 and you get to tuck a card that's not named him into soul from drop zone. That's grade 2 or less. So if you ever like run out of these, or if you had to like discard one or you healed one damage, right? You're like, oh, I don't got one in soul. This can get it back in there for you, which is really good. And then end of battle, let's counterblast one to draw a card, and you can either put it into soul or bind. Obviously, we like putting our cards into the soul. If we were more of a Narukami base, we would consider the bind. And then lastly is two copies of Forward and Revoltus. So there's still like a little bit of testing I need to do with this, and I think I might flop these ratios around, but I haven't quite decided. Basically, since we're always soul charging, this can toolbox anything out of our soul, which is really nice, and why I've kept it in there. But I can also understand it not being as relevant in the deck anymore. But I feel like there's just like a couple scenarios where I just keep getting like the same card to soul, and I'm like, I need one of these for my board, and that's where he comes in. It's just when I was playing him at four copies, there was a game I didn't see him at all until the very like last bit of the game, and then it was like, yeah, I can call two of them down, and yeah, they can probably restand. But if I soul charge too, I have like two cards in deck, and that's just not it, right? So you gotta. It's a weird one. I feel like you can swap some ratios around here, but I won't. I won't bother you guys with that. Just if when you try this deck out, you feel like you want to swap it, go ahead. The reason defensing defensing roar and what is it called, belly aggro aren't in this deck is just because this deck is really focused on its rear guards, so I didn't really care to have defensing roar in the deck. But I understand if you want to throw it in there, there is a world where you just cut one copy of Blazing Warcry, or you even cut like one copy of this or one copy of this. Either of that is fine, but for right now, I've decided to go without it. And I haven't been like desperately missing Blazing War or Defensing Roar in this deck. Blazing Warcry I've desperately missed. We have four copies of, is it Nahid? I believe it's Nahid. So Nahid has two really good abilities. The first is if you discard him during your turn, you get to put him into your soul, which is really good because he like just from riding up, you can put him into soul. But also for the grade 2 that discards a card at the end of the battle, you can also just get rid of that and then get him into soul really free. But the other part of him that kind of makes him like one of the best cards in the deck is the fact that when something in his column restands by the ability of your Vanguard, whether it's this guy or if it's the other card, you can Soul Blast a card to restand the other card. So if you have like, let's say you have Ford and Revoltus, right? But you don't have a copy of this in Soul. As long as you have a copy of this in your Soul, this can restand the column, and you'll be able to get the extra attack, which is really nice. And with a boost too, which is really cool. We have four copies of Incinerate Dragon, if I could get it. There we go. Incinerate was a really cool promo we got, I want to say like a couple months ago. Basically, if you have Kothiblaze or you reveal Kothiblaze from your ride line, you're going to look at top 7 and choose a grade 2 or less card and put it into the soul and then shuffle. Again, we're trying to deck thin as much as we can. And the other important part of this card is uh, at the beginning of battle phase, when you're on Kothiblaze, you can Energy Blast 3 to give your Vanguard +5, and end of turn, this can go to Soul and draw you a card. So the whole idea is you could technically save that for when you go for like your big turn with the 2 in Soul Kothblazes, but you could also use this early game just to keep the pressure going, which is really nice. And lastly, I've got 4 perfect guards. Perfect guards are great. Not a lot to say there on that. Um, I think the only other thing we could talk about for the main deck is not playing the Ace unit. I think the Ace unit is a good card, but it feels very awkward in this deck because you want to have multiple of the same name and you can only play one Ace unit. So it's not particularly what we're looking for. Triggers, we talked about Drag Veda. We are playing him. Probably the best over trigger in the game currently. We have 8 crits. We are an aggressive deck. We play fronts specifically because we will deck out if we don't. I tried playing draws for like a little bit because I had that like I was like I'd kind of like a couple more cards in hand, maybe find some pieces. Don't try out draws, you'll deck out so fast. And then for heals, obviously change these heals to whatever you want, whether like any effect heals, whatever suits your meta. This is just I have it on hand. I'm showing it. When I'm at a tournament, obviously I'll make sure I have the correct ones, but while we're here, it don't matter. And that is it for this profile. Again, really glad that I can finally show this guy off because I've loved this deck since set 3, and it's a shame that it's really not been able to see that much like play because of specifically Blazing Warcry being locked up. Obviously, they've been trying to make it so you can play it without it, but like Blazing Warcry is just a big carry for this deck. That's it for this one. We still got plenty more from set 12 to do. So I'll catch you guys in the next one.